Good morning to everybody listening to Gold Harbour Radio this morning. We've just been talking to Eye Candy on their way into Savu Savu from the Vow. They've got pretty decent conditions and they're only 160 miles away. So all sounds good there. Absolutely everybody in the islands will have better conditions than we have here. I can say that without a shred of doubt. Yesterday we had torrential rain in the morning, which was just lovely for walking up and down the range in. And then just after lunch, we got the gale winds. I had been talking to somebody about how beautiful my irises were, and it was nice to not yet have the September winds. Well, I should have picked them because yesterday we got between 30, 38 knots for quite a lot of time. It's still raining here, tremendously heavy rain at the moment, which is not very wonderful. 12 degrees, 1006.3 and rising. It actually got down to 993 yesterday, so you can see why we've had such strong winds. The wind at the moment is sort of from the north-northeast, I think the machine said. I hadn't actually looked at the boats because it's a bit hard to see them in the rain, but it's not very strong wind at the moment. 100% cloud cover, of course. So wherever you are, I'm sure it's going to be better than that. And does anybody else want to tell us what it's like out at sea? I've heard from Obsession this morning. From Martangi, it's light southeasterlies, 80% cloud cover there. Actually, that looks a bit more cloud than we would have expected from the satellite picture. They had showers overnight, and the bar is rising. But boy, New Caledonia looks pretty decent. Bit of cloud around Vanuatu. Samoa looks a little bit cloudy, but basically no one's got anything to complain about. Maybe southern Tonga, but boy, it's certainly not very pleasant here for our entry into spring, it being September the 3rd. Anybody else wanting to give me a report, please call. I think that was Excel. And what are you guys up to?
Good morning. We are halfway to the Vow.
Oh, good show. Halfway from the Vow, from Nui, from the Vow to. No, push. I thought you were going from Nui to the Vow. So let's go back to that. What are your conditions, over?
We went from Nui to the Vow. Went into the
How many miles to go?
128.
Got it, 128. So pretty good conditions for Excel going from Nui to the Vow there. Easterly 15 to 20. David's just looking at his screen, so you haven't got too far to go either. Well, there's a bit of people moving around, and I see there was a few movements from Vanuatu to New Cal over the weekend, so lots of things happening. Okay, anybody else? Oh, and that's right, I've got you guys going the other direction. Good morning, Harry, go ahead.
Good morning, this is Just Jane and Malua arrived Fiji at dusk last night. 50% of the passage was aft of the beam, 50% forward of the beam, and no wind stronger than 18 knots. Waves a bit confused, and the barometer is 10, 16, and calm conditions. Over.
Oh, sounds lovely, and that's a pretty good summary of the passage for you and Just Jane. So you can't really complain, can you? 50% forward and 50% aft, and nothing over 18 knots. So nothing broke on either Malua or Just Jane, presumably, and currently 1016, and they arrived last night. Thank you for that. Yeah, boy, I wish we had those conditions. It was rather a windy night for us. Being up on the hill here is absolutely beautiful from a view perspective, but when it's howling gale, it's not so much fun trying to sleep. Okay, well, thank you for letting us know. Anybody else?
over.
Sarani, good morning to you, Alison. Whereabouts are you guys? You are making pretty slow progress, I think. Whereabouts are you now?
Oh yeah, heading back to New Caledonia. We're about 70 miles.
Okay, so you're heading back in there. So, all right. Well, we'll be hearing you from. Actually, New Caledonia looks pretty decent. What did you say your wind conditions were at the moment? Over. Normally we get you pretty well. I wonder if your radio is on high power, but I think I heard east, north, east. Yeah, that's possible, says David, so he'll have a look at that in a minute. Okay, all right, well, we'll clear with you folk and give a quick roundup of the news as it's happened over the weekend. Actually staying on yachting news, and this is for the Brits. Ben Ainslie has secured funding of £110 million. That's how much it costs to run America's Cup campaign, £110 million. And he's got that from the UK's richest man, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Didn't know who he was, but evidently made his money in plastics. He wanted to fully fund it, so they have had to drop the Jaguar Land Rover funding that they had got. He wants Ainslie to concentrate fully on the job of bringing the cup back to the UK, where he thinks it rightfully belongs.
Oh, baloney.
Oh, baloney, says David. The team is going to be called Ineos. That's INEOS. I presume that's his company name. Ineos Team UK. So there you are. In 2021, they will have built two 75-foot foiling monohull boats and got them working to the extent that they hope to take the cup back at the end of March in New Zealand 2021. Okay, if you want a really, really good cheap holiday when you come to New Zealand, you won't get it here because our dollar is really strong. But you could get it to Argentina. The peso in Argentina is in free fall at the moment. 38 pesos to one US dollar. 38 to one US dollar. And I tell you what, it's a beautiful place to visit, particularly Buenos Aires. We had a real special treat a couple of years ago. We flew to Chile and took a cruise ship that went right down through all the fjords in both Chile and Argentina, out around the Fawn and back again, and ended up in Buenos Aires. It was absolutely lovely. So there you are. If you want something to do in our summer, and God knows what the summer's going to be like based on the start here. Well, it's only spring, I suppose, but those that have not been to New Zealand before will have to get yourself primed for anything's possible in summers here. We can get cool, rain, wind, sun, heat, you name it, and you never quite know from one week to the next. It's a little bit like the UK in that respect. And mind you, I was in, where was I? This year in July in Warsaw in Poland, and it was quite chilly. So I know it can be pretty miserable in summer, sometimes in Europe as well. So it's pretty much the same. Heading to Italy for a bit of news. They are now growing hemp. The production of hemp has been allowed since 2016, was made legal then, and this is for non-pharmaceutical use. Plants are allowed to be grown. I'm not sure how you control this, but they can have up to 0.2% of the psychoactive compound THC. So the Italians are making hemp ricotta, hemp pasta, hemp biscuits, as well as bricks. Evidently it grows in areas where the land is pretty dry, and at the moment wheat prices are down, so they're looking for alternatives. And staying in Europe, where this stays Europe, must be Europe news time, the Netherlands has just had a pretty bad terrorist threat, and they're holding it at 4 out of 5, a bad stabbing in a major railway station over there by an Afghani with a German passport, I think it was. So they're on alert at the moment. But going to Egypt now, a 3,200-year-old cheese was found in the tomb of an Egyptian official. And this is interesting for everybody because it shows that that those that are suffering from lactose intolerance in other places, not in Egypt, because their milk has been around at a different time period. So it's quite interesting for the people to study the diet of people in ancient Egypt. Obviously, they were into cheese and milk products. Not sure whether that meant that they sort of collapsed as a civilization or not. Keep an eye. Heart disease, probably, says David. Talking about health, there has been new research just published on the importance of adequate hydration. Now, we all know that we need to drink water to hydrate. There's a lot of our bodies made of water, but evidently you don't feel thirsty until you are already 2% dehydrated. And that amounts to about 1 litre deficiency of fluid in your or water in your body liquid. And this can result from only 30 minutes of strenuous exercise or 1 hour of hiking on a hot day. So people who are dehydrated evidently make more errors in what they're doing. They have a reduced attention span. Motor coordination is affected. So do be careful to keep your fluid levels up. This particularly applies to passage making. I know it's always quite difficult to drink enough fluids on passage making because half the time it comes back the same way it went down, which is sort of puts you off having any, but it is quite important if you want to make good decisions.
That's why you're thirsty after a bad drink.
David has just added that that's why you're thirsty after a bad drink.
Oh, you're active,
Actually, you're active. All right, well, thank you for that. It's always good to have input from others. All right, I think it's time. There's quite a lot happening at the moment. We'll just pause if there's anybody wants anything. See, my computer has paused to go black. Anybody wanting anything before we start the weather? I don't hear anything, and if anybody hears something that I don't, just yell relay, that would be good. So here is the weather. Good morning, David.
Yes, good morning to everybody out there. You're got to be happy you're not in New Zealand. We've got a closed off 500 millibar trough lies smack dab over the country. As Patricia said, a grim, miserable Sunday. As we've had a surface depression doing a number on New Zealand. A series of cold fronts paraded north yesterday into last night. The third one was over New Zealand, Norfolk Island, just a big arc like that. The second one over Minerva Reef, and that was extending to Harvey Bay in Queensland. And that also had a secondary low near 25 and 158 east. The first front lies very close to Tongatapu, looking at satellite imagery right now. It's quasi-stationary, so it's not moving very much at all. All of this then was the status as of last night. Now by noon today, that low off of Harvey Bay shifts quite a bit to the east, and that'll be near 25 and 160 east. That puts it southeast of Ile de Pen in New Caledonia. Now pushing all this along is a very strong surface high that's just about over Tasmania. Central pressure 1032 millibar, 1032. Now the high, of course, is maintained by a very nice 500 millibar ridge that sits above it. Well, in general, there have been numerous frontal bands and troughs throughout the southwest Pacific, affecting all of the islands. By the time they do reach the islands, most of them are somewhat meek, but there are lots of them quite hard to pinpoint. We know why they're there, all to do with the upper level troughs and, of course, with the aid of the jet stream. But to the degree that they mess up your weather is really boils down to you being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, Fiji is a good example where you could have crummy weather in the east, but brilliant weather in the west, or it could be vice versa. And that's similar to what's going on now. And it all boils down to the fact that there is just a tremendous amount of convective activity this season. Up in the deep tropics this morning, we've got a trough that runs from Tuvalu to Tokelau, goes on to the northern Cooks. We have another one from the Louisiades to Vanuatu to just to the south of Fiji. Then it shifts north a bit to affect Tonga, as I mentioned, and then it goes southeast from there. And we've got a quasi-stationary front that's lying over the cruising route. That affects Raoul Island. And then it goes to the northwest, just south of New Caledonia, and joins up with that low pressure system. And then we have a cold front from New Zealand to just south of Norfolk, and it goes on to Lord Howe Island. So if you were to look at satellite imagery, you'd see all of this, and just a lot of convection. All right, over to Tonga. The trough that I mentioned is pretty weak. Satellite imagery shows it very slow moving over the group. Some areas of Tonga are quite fine, and others cloudy with showers. And this may very well hang around tomorrow as well. The winds today, east-northeast, about 10 to 15, and maybe 15 to 20 for Vavau. All the winds are going to tend easterlies by later today, and tomorrow still easterlies, I think, about 15 to 20, and they will tend east-northeast a little bit later tomorrow. All of the stations this morning are cloudy. Much of the wind is east to northeast, about 10 knots, and this was about 6 a.m. New Zealand time. Check on your barometer, Tonga Tapu, 1016.9, the Hapais 1015.6, Vavau 1015.5, and again that was about an hour ago roughly. Now over to Fiji. Fiji shows fine weather for much of the group, but cloud does come and go from the proximity of that weak trough that's to the south. And it looks like some showers, I would say maybe in the southern Lao, maybe central Lao. Radar shows showers over the Taveuni area, also over the Savu area. That was early this morning. And also some pop-ups in the Lao. So those images are quite clear on the radar, but Nandi radar is still not functional. It's been out nearly all season.
It was.
It's quite no, not
not
Nandi.
No.
It's pretty shameful, really. I have no idea why they can't get that going. I'll give you some barometer checks and a little weather. Nandi 1013 and scattered to broken on the Nandi side. Savu 1012, and the wind this morning was east at 10 knots. Earlier they had towering cumulus and they had some showers there in the Savu area, and radar does show Taveuni with some showers. Calm and Suva, barometer 1014, clouds broken. Now the winds by lunch, I think mostly easterlies to about 15 knots for most of the group. Some areas may see east-northeast, and some areas southeast winds. Now tomorrow, I think we'll see a shift to the northeast, 15 to 20, and expect southwest Viti Levu with southeasterlies. So a little bit different air down in that neck of the woods. Over to Vanuatu, they're still affected by that weak trough, so expect partly cloudy conditions throughout the group, and you'll see some brief and scattered showers. The winds east-southeast to southeast, they'll be in the 15-knot range. And later easterlies are going to clash with southeasterlies, and that'll help to maintain that trough. Now tomorrow, southeasterlies about 15 to 20, and the strongest winds look to be in the central group for tomorrow. And New Caledonia, it looks pretty good on satellite imagery. There is passing cloud, so fairly scattered. Most of it is between Grande Terre and the Loyalties. Now the trough I mentioned is to the south. So far not affecting our area in the lagoon, so we're lucky there, but I think that'll change. Winds today, mostly westerlies to northwesterlies. We had a report of a different direction as possible. It depends where you are. I don't want to mean possible. I mean possible in terms of what I'm picking up on imagery and whatnot. If you are there and you're experiencing it, I can't doubt that. That's for sure. But generally, what I see is westerlies, northwesterlies around 10, but southwest by possibly lunchtime. And the clouds, I think, are going to increase with a pretty good chance of showers as the wind picks up to about 15 knots or so. And I think the trough, that's the one to the south, I think that's going to slide north. So by late today, into tomorrow, I see rain. Winds, I'd say, shifting to become southerlies and then to the southeast. It's still about 15 knots in the mean. Tomorrow, southeast 15 to 20, partly cloudy, but Wednesday we may see more showers and the winds to 20 knots out of the southeast, and that of course is in our lagoon area. And that's pretty much where I give the weather is lagoon, so if you want other areas you'll have to call in and ask. New Caledonia is a very tough place to forecast because of just the orographics of Grande Terre. Make the wind directions rather distressing to somebody like me. It's just hard to really get them figured out. So the only way I really can tell is if I get a microwave satellite or we get your reports. That's it for me. Any comments, questions, whatever come now. And here's the chief.
And a very important thing to tell you folks, we will not be on air tomorrow. We will not be on air tomorrow. I'm sure that will go in one ear and out the other. But if you don't hear us tomorrow, don't go to 8297. We won't be on 8297 either. So we're hoping for a better day than today because we are going to go AWOL. We were going to say that we were sick, but it's very hard to tell you that we're both sick. So we thought we'd better be honest and tell you that we're out driving our cars. So we'll be back on Wednesday. So if you want anything to carry you through tomorrow, now is the time to ask. And I see from emails that there are a few people now wanting to look at coming south to New Zealand. One boat looking at the end of the week, possibility with the weather. So we will handle that on Wednesday, unless David wants to make it comment on it now. He might want to make a comment on it now. So we will be starting to look at those that want to leave the islands early. God knows why with weather like this to come to. But I guess if you're going to Australia, it's not so bad.
Not the end of the week, I don't think.
No, not the end of the week, he's just said. I'll pass the microphone. Here he is.
No, I don't think that's a good idea, the end of the week. The reason for that is we've got a new high that's building in the Tasman. That's starting to build tomorrow. But anyhow, it's going to provide southerlies. And I assume most of you are probably in Fiji or Tonga, maybe thinking about coming south. No, it doesn't look good. It looks like a frontal band will be over maybe Tonga Tapu and Fiji by Friday, and behind that is that ridge, and that's all southerlies, and that affects Fiji, Vanuatu, and New Caledonia. You might get tempted if you're in Tonga because there'll be some northerlies, but then you're going to get nailed as you get south a little bit. And those of you that are in Tonga wanting to go back to New Zealand, don't forget Minerva Reef. You may have missed it on your way north. This is your chance to pick it up on the way south. Of course, if the weather's decent, you want to keep on going, but Minerva does give you a chance to get a couple of days south if the weather is going to turn poorly, and then you're closer to New Zealand when it comes right again. So that's the advantage of being in Tonga. And that's about what I see at this point. That can change.
And if you are wanting to leave early, I know in Tonga it's hard to hear us at the moment. So here's a question for David while I'm talking. Lifu, should I say, Lifu to Grand Tier tomorrow or Wednesday. Could you have a look at that, please? If you could look that up. Did you hear me? Lifu, yes, he's doing that now. But if you are wanting to listen to David and you don't want to do it live, it's more efficient with the phone cost to wait until we're finished and then just go on to YouTube or go on to Gulf Harbour Radio, should I say, www.ghradio.co.nz, and look at today's broadcast on YouTube. Scoot through to where the weather starts at the half hour and have a listen. That would be the easiest way of doing it, the most efficient way. The other thing to do is to go into the internet on the website, into the library in weather. We have a weather library. There are papers from getting from the islands to New Zealand. Specifically, there are ones from Tonga to New Zealand, I think Newcastle to New Zealand, but generally anywhere to New Zealand. The things to consider before you look at what your boat can do, work out where you'll be at different times, and then you might want to chat to David about it. No problem there once you have done your work ahead of time. Okay, so we're just going to have a pause now. Hello, James and Chantel. Haven't talked to you for a while. Grand Tier to Lifu. Okay. Did I say Lifu to Grand Tier or Grand Tier to Lifu?
I think you said Lifu to Grand Tier.
But it's the other way around.
Grand Tier to Lifu?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's better. Southeast winds will be up to 20 knots. That's not bad. Coming the other way, that's not good. So, no, I should be okay on Tuesday. Quite a bit of wind. But southeast is a pretty good direction, so you'll get there right quick, I think.
Lickety split. Okay, so lickety split that way. I hope Al has got in. I think he was close to getting inside Havana yesterday. Okay, anybody else with anything? Any relays for anyone with anything? Funnily enough, we've got a bit of blue sky overhead at the moment. We must be in between troughs and fronts or whatever they were. I had so many lines over the weather map I gave up looking. Anybody with anything? Otherwise, we will see you all on Wednesday morning. Boy, at the rate we're going, we could maybe go just to one day, Monday, Wednesday and Friday. That would be even better, wouldn't it? Okay, Wednesday morning, folks. See you there. The frequency's all yours.